Things like, I probably killed Marcus in the hospital because I was having an affair, and the fact that Rodney Howard Brown overheard your discussion and informed Jimmy that Doug was texting you, or that we had never had sex because he is a good man and we didn't have sex until we were married, are both being made up. He began texting me in January following Marcus's November passing. You hurt me because Rodney spread the lie about it. And John, greetings, beloved Christian family. This story has Christian media talking, questioning, and even fighting. And we're going to talk about it today. In it, Daystar TV Network co-founder Joni Lamb's recent marriage to Christian sex therapist Dr. Doug Weiss is discussed. Yes, you heard correctly, a sex doctor. Across the nation, news of their romance sent shockwaves through communities, churches, and even people's living rooms, causing others to take notice. In case you haven't been keeping up with the story from the start, I'll go over the key points. Her late husband, Marcus Lamb, was an early co-founder of Daystar. More than 2 billion people were impacted by it, making it one of the most influential Christian networks globally. Tackling a task of this nature is no picnic. Marcus was a prominent figure in the Christian community, serving as a leader, educator, and co-founder. His untimely death in late 2021 was a devastating blow to Joni and the rest of the Daystar family. At 4:00 IEMM, everyone assumed Joni would need time to grieve after losing her life and mission partner. My beloved and I, Daystar's president and founder, went to be with Jesus not even 2 years ago. Years down the road, Joni shocked everyone when she announced her relationship with Doug Weiss, who had recently ended his highly publicized marriage of over 30 years. Here is where the tensions began to rise. Doug Weiss is well known among Christians for his work as a therapist, public speaker, and author on topics such as sexual purity and overcoming addiction and infidelity. Indeed, he has assisted numerous individuals in overcoming extremely challenging circumstances throughout the years. When word got out that he had secretly divorced Lisa Weiss, his wife of over 30 years, it was even more shocking. However, just a few months prior to the completion of Doug's divorce, Marcus, Joni's husband, had passed away, so all was not as it seemed. After their relationship became public knowledge, many were interested in learning more about Doug and Joni's history together. Whether they were together prior to the divorce's finalization, and whether Joni was still hurting, manipulated, or otherwise affected. Jonathan, Rachel, and Susie Lamb, Joni's own children, were the ones who posed these questions, though some others on the internet did as well. According to relatives, Jonathan and Susie Lamb felt uneasy about the connection. They believed Doug Weiss was exploiting Joni while she was still grieving Marcus's death, and that he lacked sufficient grounds to end his long-term marriage. A family feud may start quietly, but swiftly becomes public knowledge when you are associated with the world's largest Christian television network. You would have been wrong to assume that only the Lamb family was concerned about Joni's new relationship. Some influential churchgoers shared their concerns. Knowing what we know now, senior pastor Robert Morris of one of the most well-known American churches was concerned about the relationship. In any case, it's a wise decision. However, things become murky when you take into account the fact that Robert Morris does business with Daystar, as his sermons are broadcast on that network. He was on a bad day and wanted to keep his church's reputation intact, so he refrained from publicly criticizing Joni and Doug's relationship. However, this begs the crucial question: how many other Christian leaders or pastors felt the same way but chose to remain silent in order to safeguard their platforms or relationships? When issues of faith, family, and wealth intertwine, chaos ensues almost immediately. More and more people are taking a closer look at the Joni and Doug scandal, which has prompted them to question not only their relationship but also Daystar's culture and the Christian media industry at large. It raises the question of whether a leader should remarry so soon after the death of their spouse. How should Christian leaders handle matters pertaining to individuals? How much a public figure's personal life choices should impact their professional lives is another complex issue. Although only God knows the inner workings of people's minds, we can take solace in Proverbs 11:14, which states, "Where there is no counsel, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety." Despite being married and Daystar making progress under Joni's leadership, the impact of their relationship, particularly the strain it placed on the Lamb family, is still felt. When will the next network appearance by Jonathan and Susie be? Is this the beginning of a new age, characterized by new perspectives, values, and perhaps even a new course of action? Is Daystar going to be as influential as it was previously? Pastor Rodney Howard Brown has spoken out strongly against Joni Lamb's marriage, so you might want to listen to him. Rodney is a name that most longtime Christians are familiar with. Passionate, outspoken, and unafraid to anger people, he became famous as a revivalist speaker. His disapproval of her decision to wed Christian sex therapist Doug Weiss was something he made clear to her. Many Christian leaders and pastors remained silent, perhaps out of reluctance to get involved or fear of damaging relationships within their ministries. However, Rodney expressed his feelings clearly, and they were, to put it mildly, unsupportive. Those in the know claim that Rodney told Joni straight out that this marriage might hurt more than just her. I mean, isn't that a bold assertion? All day, every day, across the Daystar TV Network. In contrast, Rodney believed the stakes were so high that he had a profound spiritual conviction, if not a vision, that this decision would cause complete disarray in the ministry that Joni and Marcus had laboriously established over the course of many years. Angst and strife within families wouldn't be the only things causing disorder. If Joni went ahead with the wedding, Rodney threatened to cut ties with Daystar, according to him. The situation was exacerbated by this. Indeed, he did declare his intention to never return to the network. Hearing this person say, "I'm out," doesn't sound so strange when you consider all the times he has been on Christian TV, led revivals, and spoken to worldwide crowds. It is evident that Rodney genuinely cared about his opponents. He didn't keep his concerns to himself. He shared them with everyone. His fear was that Marcus Lamb's hard-won reputation would be tarnished if Joni were to marry Doug Weiss. From his vantage point, it was about safeguarding the principles and reputation of a global Christian platform, not merely one woman's choice. He insisted that his warnings weren't based on speculation or idle thoughts, but on a vision he had received from God that validated his fears. Whether or not other people believed in visions or prophetic words was irrelevant. These weren't merely ideas for Rodney, they were instructions from on high about how to obey the Lord. He was quite blunt in his warning that Joni's marriage to Doug would be a disaster. Saying that to a woman who has just lost her husband and is likely still struggling to cope with a myriad of emotions, including grief and the pressure to keep everything together, is devastating. Unfortunately, things take a turn when Joni decides to marry Doug Weiss, despite Rodney's warnings and the opinions of some of her own children. Even among Christians, whispers circulated that she shouldn't have. Regardless of your feelings regarding the marriage, this part is crucial. Knowing that marrying Doug would infuriate people, Joni must have had a lot of guts to stand firm. She knew that her loved ones, her pastors, and those who had admired her for years would all find fault with her, in addition to complete strangers on the internet. Despite this, she felt she was making the best decision for her future. People like Rodney Howard Brown, who aren't hesitant to voice their disapproval, were unsurprisingly not happy about it. Well, Joni is an adult. She can make her own decisions. That's true, but leaders, particularly spiritual leaders, should be held more accountable in Rodney's view, because their decisions impact more than just themselves. A difficult question that arises as a result is, at what point does individual liberty transform into civic responsibility? According to Proverbs 27:6, the truth is frequently told by those who love us the most. Even though it was painful to hear the truth, Rodney may have viewed his job as a means to protect Joni from harm rather than an enemy of Joni. Both those who believe Rodney went too far and those who believe his counsel was sound have their opinions. What are we left with now? Doug Weiss is Joni's husband now, and Rodney Howard Brown has been very clear about his decision to avoid Daystar. What comes after this? Does Daystar stand to be impacted in the manner that Rodney anticipated? Will viewers continue to pay for the channel? On the other hand, will it all fade away eventually? But this much is certain. Daystar's history at this point has grown into something significant. As a result, many have pondered questions of leadership, accountability, personal responsibility, and the impact of their decisions on organizations that serve countless individuals. This story is far from over, so keep that in mind. Seeking the truth, praying for understanding, and considering our thoughts carefully before passing judgment are all responsibilities that Christians have. 1:5 points out, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberty and without reproach." Divine guidance, as these are stories about actual people's lives and not mere news articles. Is Rodney correct in his assessment that he was justified in speaking out? It is important for leaders to speak up when they see wrongdoing, even if their words are unpopular. Do you have any opinions? Was it simply Joni's moral compass that led her to act? After Marcus passed away in November, Roger informed Jimmy that Doug turned 17 in January. He has no one's trust in the body of Christ, possibly with the exception of Jonathan Shellsworth. But listen, I've heard it all. Rodney is a total jerk who says inappropriate things to you, so it's best if you avoid him. He could have simply called me, I have his number, if he had been experiencing any difficulties. Really? I don't blame you. Instead of ganging up on my kids behind my back, you should have spoken to me directly. After that, Jimmy informed Rodney, "That's not true." Then Rodney contacted you, and you responded, "No, Rodney, that's not true. The Lord told me what to do with Rodney." I got back up and told him, "Go do your thing, God bless him." However, now I understand the situation, and you should know that Marcus had to deal with Rodney before. Your dad was furious because of something Rodney did. Because he gave her Jonathan, I can tell he cares about you. It makes no difference if you give us cheap presents. As an expression of your love, give him a call and express your gratitude for covering the wedding costs. Thank you, Rodney, for the $100,000 0 cents you spent on it. I just wanted you to know that he cared about you. Did we talk on the phone? 3 nights in a row, he dreamed about Joni and the destruction of Daystar, he told me. He was so inebriated and the lighting was so poor that he couldn't make out a thing. He was too embarrassed to say it aloud. This was shocking to me when he told me. Why would he address her in such a way? He informed me of Mark's whereabouts and the fact that Doug and I were celebrating his birthday with him via direct message. I inquired, "Why is that?" He said, "Because I'm sad." In response, I said, "Well, this picture makes me want to talk to you about it." That was my first inkling. A lot of people lacked the courage to call me and discuss it, so I had to call him instead. I'll say it again, he lacked the courage to call me. The fact that I told him the truth about everything he said made him want to leave. He changed his whole demeanor and approach to Jimmy whenever Jimmy wanted to speak to him or called. I never heard from him again after that. Apologies, but I've dealt with this man before. It's just one of many areas where he lacks wisdom, despite being a good man overall. So after hearing all the negative feedback, what did Joni Lamb do? She didn't hold back in her response, not even close, and she made sure everyone could hear her. Pastor Rodney Howard Brown, a vocal revivalist, was one of the individuals she addressed directly. He warned her vehemently against going. The fact that Rodney wasn't your average critic, he had actually gifted Joni a substantial quantity of $100,000 0 cents, makes this part of the story all the more dramatic. The plot twist: Joni admitted that she used the $100,000 0 cents gift to partially cover the cost of her wedding to Doug Weiss, supporting the widespread belief that the giver was acting out of love, support, or trust. You read it correctly. The guy who cautioned her against marrying Doug actually ended up paying for their wedding. Many people felt strongly about this on social media. Some thought it was funny, some thought it was rude, and some thought Joni was simply being courageous and unapologetic. Whatever the case may be, the move certainly made waves, and Joni didn't merely brush off Rodney's concerns, she strongly rejected them, saying that she thought Rodney was behaving inappropriately and that he lacked the authority to intervene in her personal matters. That is to say, she made it plain that she thought Rodney was crossing a line and that she would follow her own path no matter what. However, that is not the concluding point. Denise Bogg, who has long-standing acquaintances with the Lamb family, began to circulate a letter. In it, Denise blamed Doug Weiss and revealed her profound concern that she believed Joni was being deceived. Doug may have been exploiting Joni's emotional vulnerability following Marcus's death, claims Denise. Doug isn't your average dude. He's a well-known Christian relationship and marriage counselor who has penned books, given seminars, and aided thousands of couples throughout the years. The difficult question that Denise and others raised was why Doug should be chosen for Joni, given that he was unable to salvage his own 30-year marriage. If one is unable to maintain a healthy relationship in their own life, how can they possibly instruct others in the ways of love, commitment, and healing? Many members of the Christian community have been troubled by that question, so it's reasonable. What makes this drama even more intriguing is that it involves more than just one marriage. For a long time, the public saw the Lamb family as strong, reliable, and dedicated to Daystar's cause. People are beginning to ask, what's going to happen to Daystar? Can it survive this period of conflict and tension, given the number of public and family fights? According to Howard Brown's bold prediction, the Daystar television network could become a dominant force in the Christian media industry as a result of this marriage. Countless individuals from all corners of the globe have tuned in for years to hear inspiring messages of faith, hope, and healing. A bold statement is made by the dissolution of the Daystar media empire. While some feel he crossed a line, others are beginning to consider whether he may have been right all along. Both the public's perspective and the network's leadership are evidently shifting. Based on what we know, Joni is unwavering in her beliefs, and Doug Weiss has become an integral part of her life, potentially even her ministry. Famous Christians can't agree on anything, and some of Joni's kids have spoken out against it. The Daystar fan base is bewildered, hurt, and seeking explanations. Was Joni incorrect to disregard the counsel of dependable pastors and relatives? This and other developments bring up crucial questions. Should Christians in positions of authority be subject to more scrutiny when it comes to major life choices? What does this mean for Daystar Television Network moving forward? Thinking about difficult topics like these is acceptable, according to our Christian faith. Godly people in the Bible make controversial decisions, live with the fallout, and endure criticism. The passage from Proverbs 11:14 comes to mind, which states that the absence of leadership causes people to stumble, whereas an abundance of leaders ensures their safety. That's why, particularly in high-stakes situations, it pays to listen carefully and seek out sound advice. Joni has to live with the decision she made in the end. She, the network, and the entire Christian media community will be impacted by her decisions. Therefore, I began consulting pastors and studying Matthew 19:9 because this contradicts your word. It was taught to me that a man commits adultery if he gets a divorce and marries another woman, unless his wife has cheated on him. From what I have read in God's Word, this is my belief. Do you have any opinions? Should Joni have waited and paid attention to the voices of concern, or should she have followed her heart and ignored the warnings? Do you have any opinions? Is Daystar's downfall beginning with this marriage, or is it just beginning? In the spirit of love, truth, and concern for God's people, we will continue to follow this story and bring you up-to-date news and commentary. Thank you for tuning in. Never lose your optimism, never stop praying, and may you always be blessed. Whether you're a longtime Daystar viewer or Christian media has had a profound impact on your life, we would love to hear your story. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe and give it a like. In this manner, you will always be up to date.